Hey, Super Parents. This is Dr. Nick Fanning with another episode of the Super Parent Syndrome, where we help parents parent themselves. Sit back, relax. We're going to talk about today guilt and shame.
Parenting in the 21st century is ever evolving. And while you balance work, kids, and your sanity, it's easy to feel discouraged. Welcome to the Super Parent Syndrome with your host, Dr. Nick Fanning.
So, here the thing is, do you think it's actually possible for someone to succeed by motivation of beating themselves, guilting and shaming themselves into success? Meaning, let's say this, you overeat, all of a sudden you're like, man, I am such a fat fuck. I'm just going to say that because honestly, those are the feelings that we have when we're trying to beat the living hell out of ourselves. Or, oh, I spent too much money. I'm such a stupid a-hole. You know what I mean? Or whatever it might be, where you like literally just like tear yourself down by beating yourself over and over again, telling yourself how stupid you are, that you're worthless, that you can never get anything done, that of course you failed again because that's what you expected, that's what everybody expected, and you're just going to fail again like you did last time. So obviously, here's the thing. Most of you are sitting like, well, when you say it that way... Because I can tell you this, I've done that. Mel, I've done that recently. Where it's like, all of a sudden we're like, whoa, I'm falling into old patterns. I don't need to be doing this again. Because here's the thing, it is impossible for you to have a lasting change or even take yourself into the land of success by guilt and shame. You got to love yourself. You got to finally say, you know what, enough is enough. Now this is the time that changes because now I finally understand that instead of trying to run away, I'm going to try to run towards. What would happen if I actually showed the potential that everyone else sees in me? What if I actually started loving myself the way that I love other people? What if I started doing the things I know I needed to do, not because I'm ashamed or I'm finally done or I'm finally pissed off, but because I love myself and I finally need to get those things that I deserve, that I'm worthy of. Maybe not deserve because you haven't done the work yet, but you're finally worthy of. Because here's the thing. Everybody has that possibility of success. We're in the land of America here. And if you're listening in other parts of the world too, and you just happen to be listening to a podcast, chances are you have those opportunities too. Because here's the thing. You got your body, you got your mind, you got your wits, you have the motivation, especially if you're listening to a podcast. I know that you're actually not just sedating in front of a TV. So what's it going to take to move you from point A and actually get the ball rolling? And I think that answer is actually just radical self-love. Just about time you just stopped beating yourself up, stopped hating on your own self, stop being the number one doubter in your life, and really just start taking the brakes off. It's like literally like sitting there in a car trying to push down on the gas and at the same time having your brakes on. Of course you're going to freaking fail. Of course you're going to burn out because this whole time you've had that voice of doubt in the back of your head saying you can't do it in the first place anyway. And so take it in the terms of the way of your body. You know, if you're just like constantly hating on yourself and you just like hate the way you feel and hate the way you look in clothes and you're just surrounded by this hate, you're not going to break free. In fact, you've put on the handcuffs, you've tied yourself up in a rope, and you're sitting in the chair, you're sitting in your wallow, and you're just feeding those lies over and over in your head. And when you close your eyes at night, that's what you're thinking about. When you wake up at night, that's what you're thinking about. But instead, if you can just get comfortable in your own skin and you can start loving yourself and honestly loving yourself right where you're at, you might be 200 pounds overweight and just still honestly finally looking at yourself with love, that this is the one body you have. There is literally nothing you can do to change bodies. You can't magically transform yourself. But if you can look inside that mirror and just say, finally, I can look in this mirror and say, you know, this is the body I have, and I love it, and I love me, and you know what? I'm not going to change overnight, but I can tell you this, I'm going to start making those changes over day to show myself how I love my body more and more every single day. Because like I said, you're not going to magically change. You're not going to magically appear in another body someday. You're not going to find this weird, pill that's going to fix everything. You're not going to find the perfect diet or the perfect exercise. You already know what you need to do to change your body, to reflect the love you have inside. Because right now, it is reflecting the love you have inside. And for most people, there's a total lack of love. Put it down. Start doing it differently. Same thing with like even business or a bank account. If you can look at that and you're just like, gosh, I'm so dumb, I can't do anything, or I'm trapped in this job and this is all I get, or I'm a fixed income and that's all that's ever going to be. Yeah, guess what? It's all it's going to ever be. But if you can start like taking the brakes off and say like, hey man, what am I worthy? In fact, I had a client today who's like 16 years old. He works at a local restaurant and he's already like going above and beyond compared to a lot of his coworkers who are older than him. And I said, like, literally, you should go ask for a raise. And he's like, well, when my birthday comes around, I'm turned 17, I'm going to ask for a raise. If I hadn't gotten a raise by then, I'm going to quit. I was like, why wait? As a business owner, I can tell you this. If I have an employee who is producing and they come to me and they say, hey, I would like a raise, and they're worth it, well, then by all means, we should be giving that to them. Okay? Because right now, that person, the owner, is getting a steal. He's consistent. He shows up. And for some people, man, that's just enough right there. But at the same time, he goes above and beyond. So what's that going to be like for you? Are you going above and beyond? Are you taking the brakes off and sharing your ideas as if you had just started and you have a fresh look at life? Do you see that the more value you bring, the more value you should be bringing into your own life? And if you could actually treat yourself like you loved yourself, imagine what would be possible in that regard. If you're in sales, imagine if you loved yourself and you had that type of energy and confidence going into a conversation with somebody else, that certainty. And you realize the fact that, hey, you know what? I'm going to assume trust because I love myself and I am a person of trust and I can do this. That's a huge difference than coming from behind of like, oh man, I got to earn this person's trust. I got to do the work to get through this there. And there's time for both. There's literally time for each one, but I can tell you this, the people that have the assumed trust because they have a great sense of themselves do way better. It's funny that, for some of you guys, this has made you totally uncomfortable. Probably because I dropped the F-bomb at first, but also if you think about it, just the topic of self-love itself is really incredibly tough. In fact, it's so tough that my wife teaches a yoga class, and in her youth group, there was a point in their yoga class. So it's like, all right, folks, we're going to go around and we're going to tell the group here one thing that we love about ourselves. In a group of kids aged from 7 all the way up to 14, and I think there was like 6 or 8 there. Guess how many were able to pipe up and tell confidently to the group, or even just not even confident to the group, that one thing that they loved about themselves? If you said anything other than 0, you're wrong. And that is scary. Especially we're in Leave It to Beavertown here, Western Nebraska. We don't really have much crime. I mean, we're just talking about the salt of the earth type, people who still leave their keys in their car and walk around, because their houses are unlocked and things like that, where we don't have to worry about that stuff. And yet here, we still have that issue where kids that young still can't confidently say, you know what, I just love my smile. Or they say I love that I'm a good big sister to my, or I love my family, or anything like that. They couldn't even say things that they loved about people close to them. Because sometimes that's easy to defer, oh, I love the fact I have a great family. You're totally dodging the question about what I love about myself. But they couldn't even come up with that. Because adults, hey, we're really freaking good at lying. And especially lying to ourselves, and especially lying to the people around us. Kids, they're not as practiced. And so they couldn't even do that. So at some point, finally, after some coaxing, one kid said oh, I guess I like my smile, or I love my smile. And you know what? Most of them after that repeated that because they still were absolutely terrified with the possibility of having to declare one thing that they loved about themselves. So folks, we can continue that conversation, that script in our lives, and certainly our families' lives, or you can lead by example. And you can say you know what? Today, we're going to talk about loving ourselves. And I want to tell you this, little boy, little girl, that I love this about me and I love this about you. And you can start entering that conversation inside their heads and programming that voice to do something different. Because right now, our future looks pretty shitty. This is what at stake is, folks. This is what is at stake, is that you're going to have a population that has no idea to love themselves yet again. After another one, after another one. And think about your grandkids and your great-grandkids. So right now, enter the conversation in your own head. What do you love about yourself? And what can you do to actually show that love for yourself across the many areas of your life? And if you can do that, then you have a better tomorrow. And your kids have a better tomorrow. And your grandkids are going to have a better shot at tomorrow. That's how we change the world, folks. So get busy. And if you haven't already, I want you to sign up for a free newsletter. That way you can have these shows directly delivered to your inbox. There's no thinking about it. If you haven't gone to, we can subscribe into iTunes, Stitcher, or Google Play. There's lots of ways to get this, because I can tell you this, folks, we're going to be turning up the fire here. I'm done messing around. I'm done playing small, because I can tell you this, I am ready to show how I love myself so that you guys can do the same for you. Thank you so much for listening. This is Dr. Nick, signing off.
Thanks for listening to another episode of The Super Parent Syndrome. Please be sure to visit peptalksforparents.com for more content and our free newsletter. And remember, you are not alone.